Any commissioners come to order, please? Public comment is first. If you wish to make a comment,
Speaker word. Okay. Talking around this word. My name is Larry Enfield, lifetime resident of Sherman County. I was a commissioner here for 12 years. And I know this is a public comment section, so Mr. Chairman, I would ask that I can make all my comments without any other interruptions or public comment. And when I'm done with that, I will gladly relinquish the floor and step down if that's acceptable to you. That's acceptable to you, Mr. Chairman.
fine, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So I've received a lot of calls in the last few weeks about the low water at Smoky Gardens. And I'm not a commissioner anymore, so I started trying to understand what was going on. So I watched a lot of your videos, which I was never in favor of these, but now that we have them, I like it because it's a permanent record. You can go back and see what did happen in meetings. And I see approximately 2 weeks after I left office, Kenny Sanderson was appointed to oversee the Smoky Garden. And so just for some history of the Smoky, and for Harvey, who's new in the chairs there, anybody else might want to watch this. Kenny Sanderson was the chairman of the board years ago, and he approached the commission about draining the Smoky Gardens because of a certain fish that was in there, and they needed to get some basically silt out of the bottom, which they did, and it definitely got rid of the fish problem and everything else because we never had a Smoky Garden after that. There was never water in there again. Well, anyhow, to finally get water back in there, the state was allowed, the Fish and Game was allowed by state legislation to purchase the land to the west of there. And there was 900 acre feet of water with that. And they were guaranteed that they could purchase that as long as the water went to Sherman County to refill and maintain Smoky Gardens. That was lowered to 300 acre feet because they weren't sure what it would take. And so anyhow, we started out trying to figure out what to do there. Rod Blake, Commissioner at the time, started out as the go-to person to take care of that. John Toplift was the chairman, and he said it was in his district that he would wish to take that over. So we let John Toplift take that over. And he worked with Road and Bridge to clean the bottom of the Smoky Garden out. They burned a lot, removed all the debris. Then he came in and said, guys, we didn't think this through because now we got that all cleaned out. It's early spring. If we don't line that and take care of it, we wasted the taxpayers' money and time doing that because next year the debris will be back. It'll all grow back. And we agreed. So John flew most of the time out here out of the airport, and he knew the people at EBH engineering firm. So he said, let's get him to do a liner for us. And so we hired him, and we spent several $1,000s. And sometime later, we still had no results. So we had that discussion about whether that was good or bad. And we decided to hire Pinco Engineering, who does most of our engineering. And that's who we then hired. Gerald DeBoer came out, who was the engineer we always used from there. And we asked him if he could design a liner to fill that lake with. He said yes, he had experience with lakes and ponds. He can certainly do that for us. Kenny Sanderson suggested that we use bentonite, and I believe it was soda ash, to line it with. We asked what the cost would be, and the cost would have been at least $250,000 for material, not counting transportation to get it here. So we thought maybe we should go a different way that was more affordable. And I asked the Pinto engineer if we could use the clay that we use in the landfill down there to make the line. We had the clay. And there was some question as to whether that would work or not. So he sent it in, had it tested. It tested fine. There was still some questioning whether that was a legitimate test. So we sent it to 2 more independent labs, and they all came back that yes, that would be a suitable thing to line that with. So we proceeded forward. And Road and Bridge dug the dirt out down there till basically, in most places, they would dig till they were in the mud and get the scrapers stuck, and they'd have to pull them out. That's how close we were to the water table at that time of the year. When they would get that far, they would haul clay in and backfill it and pack it out there to the engineer's specs. And most places, I'm not sure. The engineer would have to answer that, but it was 3 to 4 feet of clay hauled in and had to be packed back down to a foot. And we had to rent a packer from the cat dealer in Colby to do this with. Well, so anyhow, let's see. After we got the bottom all lined, then they lined the sides. And the sides are thinner towards the top because they can only get the equipment up there so far, which was okay because that'll let water seep out through their trees, which living proof that's working because the trees used to have to be trimmed all the time after a storm and a lot of branches hauled off. But since we filled with Smoky, our trees have gotten pretty healthy and there's very little limb droppage out there. So we know that's a good thing in there. Once we got the lining all done, we had the state come out and view it. They said it looked more like a fish bowl than anything else, and there was no habitat for the fish. So Road and Bridge hauled several large pieces of concrete down there and some concrete tubing and placed it in different places around there to make fish habitat, and some large tree stumps that were removed. Those are all in the bottom of the lake at this time for fish habitat. Well, after we had that done, we faced the next problem. As you know, our landfill down there, the way it works, when we make a liner, if we don't get it covered with bales before winter hits, a lot of times it'll crack that liner. So they also got to get bales over that because it's a clay liner, the same as the lake. And with that knowledge, our engineer said, you know, the lake's done, you guys have got to get water in there and get it covered up, or you'll probably have a problem next year. After the winter months, you will not have a liner that's functional anymore. Well, we didn't have underground pipe. So we found a gentleman in Burlington, Colorado who still does a lot of flood watering, not hardly anybody around here does, and he said we could use his irrigation pipe. In fact, he actually had his hired man haul it over to us. We laid the irrigation pipe over and filled the Smoky Garden. And the projection the engineer gave us was, and I don't have the figures in front of me, the exact figure, was around 116 acre feet. So he said it'll take more than what the lake holds because of the saturation around the edges. Well, we came in almost spot on what his projection was to fill it the first time. And then we were told by him as well as the state, if you have a good liner, you'll never use more water to maintain that lake than what it took to fill it. Over the last several years, we've never used much more than 100 to 106 acre feet to maintain it. So I've heard all this talk that it's leaking and there's a problem, and maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But going by what we were told, I would think not. So anyhow, we got it filled, and then we faced the next problem with the state because we asked them to put fish in the spring. They denied it, said they didn't think that lake was going to hold water. So Mr. Leo Hayden, who managed several ponds in Colorado, brought a biologist over, tested the water, took up donations, and they brought over a lot of large rainbow trout and stocked it. This created a lot of hate and discontent with the state because we did that. So we met with them again, and Mr. Billinger, our senator, was involved in that meeting. And anyhow, they decided, yes, they would stock it from then on. And they would notify us when they did, which never did happen, but Dave Wiggers, who lives there, did see them stock it, and they have been keeping it stocked since. Well, the next problem we faced is keeping water in there because towards the start of summer, Mr. Clevenow needed his pipe back. So we agreed, yeah, I mean, what choice do we have? So we asked the state about getting underground run over there, and they said, well, it might be a year or so before we get the underground run over there. But they already had some drawings and blueprints, and they let it out for bid. The problem being, there was only certain vendors that could bid on it. Hitchcock's and Gillen were not allowed to bid on it. The closest one was Wooster and Colby. Our road and bridge manager, Rod Roeder, found some pipe and some wet canvas at a good price, and he submitted a bid as well. And he was $20,000 cheaper than anything else. But the state denied us to do that. And once again, Senator Billinger had to get involved and ask him why in the heck could we not go ahead and lay that pipe when they were saving the government $20,000? So they agreed to let us. So our road and bridge crew did install that pipe, and that's how we've maintained the water level ever since. Well, then we had our grand opening, and Brad Lovelace, Secretary of Parks, Fish and Game, came out, and we showed him everything we've done, and he was totally amazed at what a nice facility we had and how well it worked. Mike Nyoff out of Hayes, he said he had his doubts and was told a lot of times that it was not going to work. But after he came and viewed it and looked at it, he agreed that it was pretty nice and it worked well. So we faced a lot of battles to get where we were at. But over the last 3 years, people have been pretty happy with what's going on down there. But now, you turned it over to Kenny Sanderson, who decided it was best to lower it. And what I got from watching the videos, it was so fish could spawn and get rid of the algae. Well, it's not a fishery. It's not a hatchery. That's why the state stocked it. Kenny may be an expert at raising fish, but that wasn't designed to raise fish. It's for the public to enjoy. I called our engineer, and I know Harvey called him. He said, you can lower that a little bit, but not a lot, or you're going to damage that liner. Well, I asked Rod Roeder, and by his measurements, we lowered it over 5 feet. Well, that's going to start causing damage to that liner. Not only that, for the first time ever, we've lost 2 deer down in this year because it's low and they have to go down and try to get a drink, and then they can't get back up, fall in through the ice. Never happened before when we kept it full. Well, not only that, when you lower it and deer walk down there to try to get a drink, they're poking holes in that liner with their little hooves. Well, that's not good. Then I've heard the talk about taking a cable and dragging the bottom of it. I talked to our engineer about that. He said, Larry, you do remember that there's large tree stumps down there. There's concrete that's placed, and if you knock one of them over, it's basically a 1 foot liner, and punch a hole in that, it's going to leak and you got a problem. So that's a very poor idea. Well, anyhow, we have used Pinto Engineering since I was a commissioner before that. And that engineer has designed our landfill and monitors the seal on it. And the state wells, unless something's happened since I left after the first year here, has always come back that we are not contaminating our water. So that seal is holding. It's the same kind of seal in our Smoky Gardens. That same engineer oversees our bridge, make sure the bridges are safe, the ones that aren't. He oversees the building of the new ones. And he oversees Highway 24 maintenance. We trust him with the lives of all of our people. We trust him with our underground water. So I'm not sure what the problem is, why we're questioning whether that liner's holding water today and whether what's right and what's wrong. And I know Rod Blake brought figures in to one meeting and showed us the amount of water the city used and said it was leaking. If it's leaking, maybe so. But remember, it's sitting right on top of the aquifer, and it's going right back in the aquifer. It's not wasted. But, and I know he doesn't like the liner because I watched one of the videos and see him sitting right down there in the chair. People asked him, what if we got to reline it? He said, we'll find the money and we'll do it right this time. So he publicly stated he does not think the liner was right. Well, for 3 years, the public has enjoyed that lake and thought it was great. 4 months after you change management, people are not happy. They're mad. And by lowering that, there's a pretty damn good chance you might have ruined the integrity of that liner. And if you drag cables through, you will ruin the liner. So if you got any questions, don't believe me. Call your engineer, get him to sit right here. Ask him all the questions. Is it leaking? Was it a good liner? How many gallons should it take to fill it? How many gallons should it take to maintain it? He's the engineer. He's the engineer you trust to do everything else. Trust him on this. And Rod Roeder with Road and Bridge is the one that takes care of all the wishes of that engineer. Well, now you've removed him from that, and 4 months later, we got people mad. The lake's low. I would just ask that you reinstate Rod Roeder to have control of that and make sure that it's filled and taken care of till you get the right answer from the engineer. That's all I'm asking. All right, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Anyone else have any comments? Jennifer?
Good morning, gentlemen. Did you get my email?
I did. They've got more than enough coverage
Okay.
for insurance. So the existing agreement's been modified to show that base of $1 million, but they've got $5 million total coverage and everything else in the breakdown. So that's ready to be signed.
So we have the dates as listed before, and with the agreements. Is there any other questions about it?
I did contact Gerald DeBoer on the integrity of the track, and he's not aware of any latest, greatest product to put on there as far as stabilization or dust control. I mean, nothing's really changed over the years. He was going to talk to the Speedway in Ellis County as to what they were doing, but I never did hear back, so. I'm
Well, and
gonna
I know they
assume-
just did a whole new resurface this winter, and they just had their first race this past weekend, so.
Well, I haven't heard back on that, so I guess it's my opinion on that. If there's anything, since we own the facility, if there's anything that else that we need to do that hasn't been done for years that would help it, we need to look into that. But as I said, I spoke to him and I haven't gotten any information, so.
Okay.
That's all I know about that.
Do I hear a motion to approve the set dates for the Sherman County Speedway?
Well, I know there's been some talk about adding a bunch of stuff into the contract. And I think that just convolutes things. I think it's just a matter of, you guys communicating with William. There's already a clause in there. If he has to go in and do some extra cleanup, he can charge up to $200. And I say that's adequate, just from what I've read in the existing contract. So I would make a motion to approve that agreement.
Been moved. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. We approve contract. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, Jennifer, thank you for clarifying the insurance so that we're,
Not a problem. Anything you guys need, I'll see what I can do to provide it.
well, I hate to wish this on anybody, but I'd like to see the 22nd, 6th, the 20, all these are rain out days.
Other than the revenue it brings into town, me too,
Yeah.
buddy, me too. It's a lot of work.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Albright.
Just have the yearly renewal for our panic buttons. It went up again about $200. This is through Alert Us. It is the renewal is $4,078.
Again, this is for, again, what?
Panic buttons.
Okay.
I have the money in my budget. So
There we go. To entertain a motion to approve the contract.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. We approve the contract with panic buttons. All those in favor, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All same sign.
top two lines. Other side too.
My title.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This is Chrissy.
Mine's pretty simple. As you know, the Homeland Security Council funds several projects for the region. So this project is just basically replacing a very important radio in the dispatch rack in the back room that allows us to talk statewide, to simplify it. So anytime we accept Homeland Security equipment, we just have to get a signature that says it's all right. So,
Is that an 800 radio then too? Or?
yeah, it's 800 Consulate, which makes it different than the normal radios because from our seat in dispatch, we don't have to go clear back to the rack to change channels, unlike the other radios. So we can switch from, like, say, the event channel when KHP has a chase, like they did Friday, or there's a med channel, a PSAP channel, which is all the dispatch centers sit on it most of the time, in case somebody needs to reach out and says, hey, I need help, I'm not from the area. So that's pretty much it. And then Matt Brinier comes in quite often, gets signatures for his equipment.
I want to tell you, I appreciate the jobs that you've been doing.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed the conferences that we had together, everything, so.
Yeah. Well, there's a dispatch conference in September if you want to go to that and really learn.
I want to do my set-in first, okay?
Yeah, yeah, by all means.
First.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. I think it'll be fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We have resolution 23-6, excuse me. This is revising the fee schedule that Judge Showalter talked about. Do I hear a motion? I think everybody got it on there. Yeah. Do I hear a motion?
Does our public know what that's about? That they're raising, is that the one they're raising fees
Yes.
on?
That's for defense attorneys.
How much of a raise is that?
I think they're currently at $90, right?
Yeah, $20. And the thing is, they have max limits on them, so that they can't add on to the cost sometimes.
I just wanted to make sure the public knew that those were going up, okay, and that we were getting ready to raise those up a little bit, so they're aware of that.
We really don't have much of a choice if we want to keep getting defense
Yeah.
attorneys.
I understand we have to raise them, but we just want to make sure our public knew that.
I make a motion to adopt resolution 23-6.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Could you repeat which fees you're increasing? I didn't catch that.
Now say what?
And could you repeat which fees you're increasing?
Well, it's court fees for appointed counsel, for criminal misdemeanor, parole violations, traffic violations, CINCs, juvenile offenders.
And basically, it's going up to $110 per hour for those. And there's a maximum on each one.
It'll go up to $110 starting July 1st and then $120 January 1st. And then we should be at that level where it needs to be.
Meet with the other surrounding counties. I've already increased it to those figures.
It made it very hard to get an attorney.
Well, yeah, there's
Scheduling was the biggest.
Couldn't get attorneys to work here for
90.
90. I mean, that's way under what other counties would pay. You gotta have them, or a system doesn't work.
Harvey, just so all those court-appointed fees, if a guilty plea is entered or a conviction is obtained, those fees are reimbursable. So we get some back.
Okay.
We have a contract here with fire alarm specialist. And this is for panic alarms, emergency lights. Several different contracts here, one for
Different locations.
the different locations. I hear a motion, we accept the fire alarm contracts.
Also move.
You want the contract numbers, Ash? Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded, we accept the contracts with fire alarm specialist. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. All the bills have not been signed yet, but we have two vouchers, one for the $29,000 for the truck, fire, or the weed, noxious weed truck that we got, and then the other for $203,539.87. Do I hear a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded, we pay the bills, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed. Minutes?
I have no problem with the minutes. Minutes look good.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second?
I will second that.
Been moved and seconded.
And those are the minutes of April 10th.
Approve the minutes of April 10th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Okay. Anything else? Mr. Zimmerman's due at 8:45. Sheriff Penalto, do you have, how long will it take for your executive? How long will it take for your executive session?
I actually called that, so 10 minutes.
Okay? Okay, let's just
I would like a little bit of discussion on the Smoky Gardens.
Okay,
Okay, if we can have a little bit of time with this Smoky Garden. I think, Larry brought some concerns with that. And
On the
and I don't-
smoking?
Yeah, and I don't want to just sweep that under the rug. We have not taken the cable and drug that out yet, have we?
No.
So a concern is the planters down there. Are we
The
taking
last-
steps to make sure that?
The last report, we're not gonna do that.
Right.
Spot spray vegetation, pump some water. That's already in the works, in the plans. We are waiting on some concrete. We're gonna put additional concrete down by the fill tube.
they got
So-
some rock placed in that.
We always still have to get that, yeah.
Yeah, well, they got the rock
Yeah, right.
around where the field spout is. And as I understood, Mr. Roder, he ran water in it, raised it a couple feet, shut the well off, and he's probably gonna go back out this week and start the well again. Yes,
They raised it about that much,
okay, well,
because that concrete culvert, was showing about that much and still showing about that much. So
well, he's supposed to be back out and
I think today,
start the well again, so.
And when I talked to the engineer, he told me that if it got down 4 or 5 feet, that we need to worry about that a little bit because it could crack that liner. At the time, I was told it was only 27 inches down, but it went down to 34 inches. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's as low as I was told that it ever went. So I don't know if it got any lower than that.
where's that measured from?
I honestly don't know. That's just what I was told.
I measured it from the top and it was 43 inches, the top of the dam.
So Kenny, how do you measure that?
My question is, how are you measuring from the top of the dam?
The watermarks on the side,
Okay, what are you using as a reference horizontally to get that measurement down to the water?
the water.
Are you measuring down the bank?
No,
No,
down,
the
You-
lines on the dam.
the lines are,
I fully understand that. But you
You
can't
understand?
measure from the top of the dam without setting something on the dam that's
No,
horizontal,
The sides of the dam with the lines,
the wing dams.
yeah,
The water isn't up there where you could measure straight down to the water.
well, they now, but it was, how I measured it.
Well, in any case, we're putting water back in for
I
sure,
hope so.
okay? And I think we need to make very cautious effort. Now, I will also tell you this, that there's no one in this room has told me that they want that lake drained. In fact, everybody in this room has told me just the opposite of that. Okay, and so I'm taking everybody at their faith that that's the intent, is that we want that little lake down there to be full and recreational for the people. Now, as far as lowering it down and hatching, I have an individual I know very well. I talked to him about that particular process or that procedure. And he said it is a common thing to do if you want to enlarge the size of the fish that you have. And he said that the algae down there, he said, pull it out. He said, some people might try that, some not. Most of them do chemicals. But he also said that's important to do and maintain.
Well, the good news is that algae that Kenny was referencing, we thought we were gonna have to remove,
Yeah.
and it's basically dissolved.
It's decomposed on its own.
It's gone.
So
So there's
some
no
of
need
the
dragging it.
action is working then.
It's, yes.
That
it's
before
done right.
even any chemical was applied, is that, yeah.
It's done better than what was expected.
It's Kenny is still a consultant. Rod Roder is still the one that runs the water. He's not been,
No, he hadn't been removed. He's the
But who
guy.
tells Rod to start it?
pardon?
Who tells Rod to start the water?
We do as commissioners.
So why did it get so low? Because Rod wouldn't have let it get that low.
Well, we asked Rod not to pump it till we got fill rock back in around the opening of the pipe, so we wouldn't have erosion. Because I went down there and looked at it, and you could see if it pumped, how the water was going to stir up and break down in there.
Steve, before the water never got low enough, the fill tube was in the water when they kept filling it. So when the tube is in the water, you don't have an erosion problem.
You
The erosion
still,
problem was created when they first filled it after the underground was put in. But always before it was filled, when the tube was still in the water. And you know from irrigation experience, you don't get erosion when you're pumping water into water. So,
we have a combination of things
If
going
it's,
on.
if the water going in is under pressure, you're gonna get erosion.
That's not in the pressure.
The point is that it's low now to get vegetation under control. Get more water put in after that's done. And according to the CFAP agreement, Dave is managing the fish, not the pond, okay? Now, some of that goes hand in hand. There's a time when you want lower water, there's a time when you want full pool. And we'll get there, but it's just not right now. So that's how it is. That's all I can do to explain it.
what about the talk about leakage? I've heard.
What about it? Okay, you just said where's all the water gone? If it's not leaking, where the hell's the water? It didn't evaporate.
It didn't?
Yeah, do the math. Kenny, what's evaporation rates for this area? Half inch a day, right?
By K-State Extension data last year, 47.1 acre feet
Okay.
was evaporation. Okay, we still have 60, there's 62 acre feet to the point it was being filled. Per the engineer's bathymetry
Yep.
data of the lake. But we pumped 100 and some acre feet. So there's 60 some acre feet that are missing.
Not due to evaporation.
How many days have you not pumped water? How many days did it go you did not pump any water?
I didn't look at that. I looked at the total numbers.
So it
and
hadn't
what
pumped
K-State
before the first
evaporation
year.
was.
It hadn't pumped before the first year, so approximately 4 months. What's four times?
I think it was in November that.
Okay, so let's just say 4 times 30, that's 4 months. How many days is that?
120.
120. And if you lose, say, a third of an inch a day, which you just said is closer to half an inch a day, how many inches is that?
Depends whether you're
120.
talking about hydrostatic pressure at full pool or where it's at right now.
I'm talking about evaporation.
There is no evaporation right now to speak of, other than last week while I was marrying my daughter off and everybody's nailing me on Facebook about everything I've done wrong. And I'm not in charge of this deal, Larry.
Who is?
I agree
We are.
to be the point man between the commissioners and the biologist with the state of Kansas. I make no decisions, okay? But I'm on my 34th pond right now. Maybe that's not a big number for anybody else. I'm not here to blow smoke or anything else.
I read your Facebook page where you said some ponds you've never put water in for a year and a half.
I never posted that.
I see.
Never posted that. I'd like for you to show that to me.
I'll see if I can find it.
Find it. That is untrue.
Okay,
Before we get too far here, have we ever used 150 acres of water down there?
Nope.
So we're doing okay as far as the state is concerned, the amount of water that we're using.
Exactly.
And so our goal is to make that pretty nice, and if we have the opportunity to make it so it uses less water, that's what our goal's gonna be, right?
Correct.
Okay, and to keep that in there. And so we're all really kind of on the same page. Okay, we just need to make sure that we move forward cautiously and do the best thing that we can do for our community to keep that going.
Please have the engineer come in and sit and talk to you.
He had told me that he'd like to come up here and do that, but he did not set a time for me to
Yes.
do that or
I know
time to
he's
do
a
that.
busy
So,
man, but I would
Yeah.
really like for you to sit and visit him in a public meeting like this.
Can I say one thing on this?
sure.
Okay, it may not be evaporating now, but those trees down there, cottonwood trees, drink a lot of water.
No, that's a great
Only to
point.
get through the liner. The water has to go through the liner for the trees to drink it.
No, if they
But
may
those
get water
trees are
on
getting
top of
If they
water
penetrate
from
in
somewhere.
through the liner, then you got a leak because the roots have penetrated the liner.
Those trees are getting water from somewhere, and they
Yeah.
will from the get-go, since you started pumping water down there,
The bottom line,
because the trees are healthy now. The
right,
first year I was down there, after a wind event, I'd have to call in help from road and bridge. They'd have to bring down dump trucks, chainsaws, and spend about 3 days cleaning up trees. Now, after a wind event, I may have one limb. And, you know, if you want that park to be nice, you gotta keep water in it.
So to Burton's point about a root run through, as long as they can feed off the top, they're fine. But when the water goes down and say deer poke a hole and water starts seeping through there, yes, the root's gonna come in. So the lower you lower it, the more chance you got of ruining that liner.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, the top foot of that is made to where it seeps out into the trees.
Very little liner there.
There's no liner there, and yet the top foot of that is what waters the trees.
Yeah.
And the lower we let it get, the more danger we've got.
rest assured, when we leave here today, there will be more conversation. We're not out to, screw stuff up.
It appears that way.
Well, you can take it however you want, but what I'm saying is, that's not the intent. Okay? We get a lot of advice from a lot of experts,
You're looking right at me,
a lot of experts.
and you're one of them.
I would say that the majority of people, just from observation, the majority of people that go down there could care less if there's fish in the water. They want water and they want the park.
But why wouldn't you want the best of both worlds?
Well, you do, but you don't want to ruin one thing to have another thing.
No, absolutely. I get it.
And so we have lots of birds.
Yeah.
And right now, there's lots of birds. A lot of people come down to look at the birds.
No, I get it. I get it. That not everybody's a fisherman that likes to go. I get it. But you got it. We have to try to balance it. And apparently we're not balancing it correctly to suit everybody. So we got to come up with a new plan. We'll talk about it. We'll talk. This isn't over. We'll talk about it.
I'm glad.
I'm not taking this lightly. I don't agree with everything Larry says, and that's okay. That's fine. I understand his theory on it. I understand y'all's theory on it. I'm listening to the biologist from the state. I will talk to the engineer. Absolutely. We're not done. We'll keep talking. And in the meantime, let's get the spot treatment done that we need to get done. Let's get some more rock put in there and let's add some water.
I've got a question for Kenny, since we're out for the God and everybody. Kenny, do you believe that the Smoky Gardens is leaking?
I think it's leaking more than it should if you were sealing it for an impoundment to maximize the holding capacity.
I believe that I don't think there's such a thing as a pond or a lake that doesn't leak.
That's correct.
There is no such thing. Just be clear on that. You can do a lot of amazing things with a lot of compounds. Do I believe firmly that the soda ash would have helped? Yes. Do I believe there's other products now that we can try without damaging, anything? It's called soil flock. Yeah, I think we could. If we could slow it down 10%, I think it'd be wonderful. But we're not there yet. So we're not going to give up on it. Absolutely not.
Get our rock put in places, and the water is being pumped or will be pumped. I'll check with Rod again today
And Spore, they donated a load of concrete for us, about 20 tons, so which was nice. And it's $34 a ton if we go get it. Rod wants to get a few more loads and get some of that put in there in some of the areas that have sloughed off the banks, which we knew it was going to happen.
This is crushed concrete.
No, it's 6 to 8 inch nominal
Okay.
riprap. And it's clean. It doesn't have any wire or rebar in it. So
And where does that go?
it goes well along the banks. over on the southeast side, there's a lot of erosion that's taking place there. We need to get some in there, and now would be the time to do it while it's low before we fill it.
While it's low, we still have that excavator out there. I think that worked
Yeah.
pretty good to swing out and dribble the rock.
I'll talk to Rod later today and see where he's at. If there's anything we can do to expedite that. But, and we plan on doing some spraying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Appreciate all your input.
Carrie has.
I got one more comment. Okay, the State Water Commission, they have a sensor in there, and they come check the water usage. I don't know, usually at least once a month. And I've talked to the guy when he's there if I see him. And he tells me that pond is doing tremendous. He says that don't lose any more than what would be normal due to the trees and evaporation. And he says that ash stuff does not seem to work because they used it in Atwood and that pond leaks like a sieve and they run water constantly in there. And we're running water once a month to once every 6 weeks. And to my knowledge, we used, it was either 78 feet or 82 feet last year. And we're allotted 300. I would say it's doing pretty darn good. Without
The soda ash, you know, if you're mixing that with the wrong soil type, you might as well save your money because it's not going to work. So we don't know what they mix that soda ash with at Atwood. So if it was silty loam, probably not going to work. Sandy loam will work well. So,
But it's nice to know that he feels that we're doing good there. It's good to know.
they're the ones that measure it, and they're gotta go by what they say.
And as water gets a little lower and a little, it's gonna
Chris
get
can't
tougher.
read it.
okay.
So I just wanted to mention.
Well, I appreciate
Well,
that.
we're gonna continue pumping and go on recommendations that we, of Fish and Game and our own people to keep the water in the, I don't think anybody was planning on draining that thing.
There was some talk, and I don't know. My problem is I hear too many things from too many people. Because I'm down there all the time. Or, that's my job is, I'm the caretaker of the smoke. Most of my job is mowing and picking up trash but I also talk to the people that come down there. So, because they come ask me rules and regulations and say how nice and how good the county has done by having that there. I don't know, I hope we can keep it.
Well, that's our goal for sure.
Well, since Bonnie Reservoir is drained, it's amazing how many Colorado people and how many Wallace County and surrounding counties, as well as Sherman County. But I agree with Mario, maybe 10% of them come to fish. End of story.
Well, the day I went down and looked at the rock around the hill spot and stuff, there was about 18 vehicles down there. And there was 2 people that said they caught 2 trout and were keeping the trout. Everybody else, if they do fish, they just throw them back in.
I guess 99% of the fish that's caught down there are
Well, I know one parent, the little one was fishing and dad was fishing, and the little boy was upset because he wasn't catching fish right away. And dad said, well, he said, I know I won't catch any because I don't have a hook on the line. I'm just fishing with him. So, you know, they're out there for family. And so we've got to try to maintain it and keeping those fish in and stuff. Is,
But you see the picture of the little guy with his great big fish,
a great big smile.
biggest smile he put on his face.
All right. Our 8:45 has been canceled.
Okay.
So I would make a motion to go into executive session with the three commissioners. You want to be there, Brett?
That's up to you.
Brett and Sheriff Penalto for 10 minutes.
I'll second that.
Been moved in second, go into executive session for 10 minutes.
Reconvene here.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Go into executive session.
I guess we're not gonna adjourn.
Oh, rats.
Probably. The microphones? Or is it a new one? Does it work better?
I think the discussion was good and needed to be done, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So,
A lot of speculation.
Yeah. Hope I learned how to run this thing, you know. I have questions, yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of nice.
I'll show you before you
All
go.
your stuff out there.
I'll show you in 30 seconds before you
No, I undo.
Okay.
Ask your grandkids, I'll show you.
Yeah, that's right. They do.
Okay.
Probably have some games in there.
Yep.
Meeting will come back to order. Okay. Mr. Zimmerman.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen. The last time I was in here, we had a department head meeting, and some ideas were brought up. I know William McKnight said something about training some people on fire extinguishers, AEDs. I would like to see maybe in the future of maybe doing some type of like open, I call it like an open house training, maybe at the fire EMS station where have some AEDs out, just not doing a full CPR class, but just quick refresher on how to throw some stuff on, some fire extinguisher. We can do some actual live pan and get people want to pull a pin on an extinguisher and learn how to do some of that. I have no problem with that. I think it'd be a great little get together. We can maybe do a little barbecue or something. I don't know. We can go all out on that. It was funny. I got back to the office and the same day this came in the mail with the trauma kit. And so it made me got to do some thinking. I've talked to Jennifer Kier at the health department. She thinks this is an absolute amazing idea as well. So basically what this is kind of like just a quick bleed control kit, major trauma. It has a tourniquet in it, scissors, emergency Mylar blanket, quick clot stuff. My thought was, why not get something like this? It's sealed. There's no expiration date. This kit alone is about, you can pass around, this kit alone is about $60. I was going to do some more research. They make some other kits. My thought was, why not we put one of these with each AED in all of our county buildings?
That'd be a good idea.
As well as I talked with a couple SO officers, and some of them don't even really have a good kit as well. I don't know if it's something we just kind of collaborate and get PD and SO all together. That way, everything's the same. We all know how to use each other's equipment. And if it's something that they want to carry, they can throw in their squad car or SO car, then they can do that as well. So I was just seeing what your guys' thoughts were before we kind of pull a trigger, or if you want me to do some more research, if there's something you want to add to it, take away from it, I would be happy to do the footwork on this side of it. So,
How many county vehicles or trucks or whatever actually have AEDs?
There's 6 actual vehicles, but each building has one.
Right. But like
Road and Bridge districts, 5. Construction in the 4 districts, and then Sheriff's Office, I think, has 2 vehicles.
Okay.
you know,
And then to include with that, working with the city, because you're working with city law enforcement, to provide that for them at the same time so that they can come in and say, you know, hey, they try to support each side of it.
Right.
And that way, grab my kit, there it is. Everybody knows what it is and everything, and they can get into that thing.
My thoughts are you can't have too much training.
No, and it's another tool for your toolbox. Just like, ADs have come so far, the sooner you can get an AD put on somebody, it's more likely you're going to save them. Same with major trauma and bleeding. The sooner you get that bleeding stop, you're going to save a life.
And it's the basic stuff you remember. I mean, there's a lot of in-depth stuff the average Joe's not gonna remember, but yeah, if you just.
And I made me thinking, you're talking about all county vehicles, maybe a couple even pickups for road and bridge to have some of these in with them, because they're out in the country sometimes, out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I guess asking you guys, what kind of budget do you want to spend on something like this, or
What'd you say, there's $60?
$60-$70 for one of these little kits? Like I said, no expiration, so they last a long time. So
I would say, look, let's figure out first how many we would need, that would make sense. Talk to each department head or whatever and see what we need. And I think everybody's got a safety line item out there.
Yes, so we have one in the
Safety supply.
gen for safety equipment, safety supplies, or we can use this as the K-Camp grant for this year. I think 2,000 or 2,500, 2,000.
So there you go.
So
That answers
That'd be
your
good.
question right there, because that would give you quite a few.
yeah.
I like it.
So would you like me to verify, maybe you guys good with this type of option, as long as it's something similar? Keep it within $60-$70
Yeah,
deal and go that route? Okay.
let's say that'll give you more, about 30 packets. Or
Yeah, that'd be enough to supply everything pretty much. So do I need any further approval or anything if I
No.
just get with you on,
I'd say you're good.
get something coming and then we'll go from there?
because, I remember when the AEDs, the newer Zols came out, they did a study and they brought some paramedics and set them down with an AED and some kindergartners and set them down with the AED. The kindergartners were able to do it quicker than the paramedics because the paramedics wanted to analyze and everything. And the little kids said, well, it says, put these on, do this, push the button. And I think that's the thing that we know that AED saves lives. We know that stopping the bleeding saves lives. And
One, and then, I was thinking about that, as far as like a safety training and whatnot, it was brought up, I don't know, Eric, did you bring it up? About a good time to do like some of that might be when it's like renewal time for insurance, when we all get together. We can pull them out in the fire bay, hey, give us 10 minutes so we can show you how this works. Go over an AD or fire extinguisher real quick. Is that something we could work into? That way we hit everybody on the county.
they're there anyways,
Problem is next one's not till next
May,
May.
March,
or March. Yeah.
well, February, yeah.
but we can
That's
do
still a
some
plan.
stuff before that, I think.
Yeah.
Get those ordered, get them in, and then say, hey, all of you that, whatever vehicles we put them in, we would like you to come.
Yeah.
And,
That way you can see what's inside of it.
right.
Because it looks intimidating. It's like, wow, what's all in here? What does it do? To the common person.
Right.
But yeah, we can break a couple open so you can see.
Right.
I think it'd be good hands-on training. So
Sounds good.
okay, awesome. That's all I got.
All right.
Thanks,
Chris.
Thank you.
Back to the conversation we had. Harvey was not here about meetings. How many meetings do we really think we need each month? This has been talked about since I've been here. We talked about going to 2 meetings a month and might make the meetings a little longer. I don't know, depending on what's on the agenda. Ashley had mentioned the first or second Monday and the last working day would be adequate to get bills paid. And does that sound right?
Or if you wanted to stick to second and last Monday, or if you wanted, it doesn't matter.
Well, it's just conversation. We don't have to make a decision on it right now, but just kind of think about that.
I know Wallace County does just 2 days a month. Yeah, I don't know what Cheyenne County
I
does for
think
sure.
they're 2 days a month. I think most everybody is.
So,
Well, going 2 is all right. You guys have the experience. to know if we, because we can always call a special one if we need it.
Exactly, that's always an option.
Well, and that is the part, just like the truck we bought.
Yeah.
We couldn't wait to have a meeting today because I think that thing would have been gone.
Yeah.
And so when we see those things, we had that meeting.
Yeah.
And, because, we had, Jennifer came back with insurance information, everything we can, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, is it better to have the last meeting of the month on the last day of the month, or would it work to have it on the last
It
month?
depends on whether you want consistency and you don't have to think about which day that falls on.
My opinion would be the last day of the working day of the month, and then, the second Monday of the month.
Second Monday less. I would too.
What's your thought? What's your thoughts?
I'm here when they come and
Thanks for
We
the
just
help.
know that if it's on a Tuesday, we won't see you.
Wednesdays now,
Wednesdays now? Okay.
and hopefully that goes back to Tuesdays in January.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll probably hear a little bit from the public, for a while on it, but I gotta look at what, typically is on the agendas and what we have to do, paying bills. I think we should be able to get it done with 2 meetings a month. We can try that for a while and see how it goes. Do we need a resolution?
Yes.
Okay. I guess we'll have that for the next meeting. When would we want to start this? Next month?
If we had the resolution, I'd say so.
Okay.
So second Monday and the last working day of each month.
Now, I have a previous engagement on the 28th. I will not be here.
Good.
If I
All right.
run long, I can make it back from COVID, but I got a presentation.
Okay. Isn't that KAC meeting in,
Wednesday.
okay. Are we signed up for that?
You are?
Yes.
I'll be there then. All right. Are you-
The first,
I'm not for sure I know what meeting you're
It's
talking
called
about.
the Little KAC.
it's a meeting in Colby of the, what is it? Northwestern part of the state.
On the 19th, like of this month?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like this Wednesday, okay.
Yeah.
What time is that?
I'll get you an agenda.
Yeah, she'll send something to you. Registration's like it's 7:45 or something, our time.
First meetings at,
I don't know, I'll have to look.
All right. That's all I've got.
I had one letter from the Health Department of Health and Environment, and they're just listing renewals of groundwater permits for pollution control permits. It listed one feedlot in Sherman County. I remember. But mostly it's listing feedlots across the state that are renewing their permits. And, yeah, because it's in Sherman County. But yeah, they're following, and no charge to them or anything. So that was the only mail that I think we have.
All right.
Anything else needs to be brought before? Any signing checks out? I entertain motion for adjournment.
So make that motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Motion passed.